Gray leaf spot has attacked ryegrass in California as early as mid-June in some years. This year, the disease did not start showing up until late July. The weather data included with this update illustrates the stress index conditions prior to the epidemic of gray leaf spot in California and Lexington, Kentucky, where the disease was also diagnosed on ryegrass. This photo illustrates the symptoms of gray leaf spot attacking ryegrass surround in Southern California. Let's take a quick pan around the area and then head back to the lab and take a look at the sample more closely. Welcome back to the lab. Now we're going to take a look at a leaf I pulled off from the sample and use a hand lens to take a look at that sample, using it close to your eye so that you can focus in on the sample, and then all you're going to see is a little bit of a gray, almost a velvety look to the leaf. So this is one of the more difficult diseases to get a good visual on using just a hand lens. That's about all you're going to see. There's just a faint sort of a grayish velvety look to that leaf surface, and that's the spores of gray leaf spot. Now we'll take a look at it under a dissecting microscope and a compound scope to give you the critical structures that you need to identify this disease positively. Well, here's a leaf that's got a couple of discrete lesions on it, and if we zoom in a little bit more closely on these lesions, we can see there's just a little bit of a gray material right around the edge of those lesions, and that is the spores of the Pyrrhicularia griseae fungus as it's sporulating around those lesions. And we can see that it's not really very descriptive looking at it. It could be a number of fungi causing that, so you need a compound microscope to look a little bit more closely. Here's another leaf that shows a pretty dense sporulation on the surface of that leaf. This is toward the ends of the leaves also, where the leaves will become twisted. There's some characteristic or fairly characteristic looks to the twisted leaves, but you can see the sporulation there. And then we'll look around a little bit more, and we'll try to get take a leaf and move it over to the compound microscope, where we can get a little bit better look. Let's just grab this guy. Sometimes a little difficult to grab in there and get the leaf out, separate it out from the leaf behind it. And we'll just pull that off and put it on a microscope slide, and then take it over to the compound scope for a closer look. Well, this is a low magnification image on a compound scope. You really can't see much that's recognizable, but once we zoom in, flip onto a higher magnification, we'll be able to make out the individual spores, and we'll even be able to get to take a look at the conidiophores that produce these spores. So there you can see some of the pear-shaped kind of a spore structure that the Pyrrhicularia has, and there's a lot of spores on there. Multiple spores can be produced on a conidiophore, which is the little stick that the conidia are produced on, and these things are easily moved by water. Well, here we see the conidiophores coming out from the leaf surface, and a conidium being born on one of those conidiophores. Multiple conidia can be born on those conidiophores, so you can have a very dense, and that's what gives it a velvety look when you see this with a hand lens or with the dissecting microscope at low power. We hope you enjoyed this video, and keep an eye out for gray leaf spot if you're in an area that has a high stress index above 130 up to above 140.